I never know how to sit. Like, if I like this and like a little slouch back, but when I sit like this, I feel like a news reporter. And today's weather is.
Today
I feel like a news reporter.
Sorry. That was aggressive. All right.
Hey everybody, welcome to What's Bay Say. I'm so excited that you chose to listen in today or watch on YouTube, and today's episode is going to be awesome. It's going to be my first guest that's come on for a second time. The first time she was asking me all the questions. This time I'm going to be asking her some questions. So welcome Halie King to this. I always want to say Halie Windish. It's just the roots.
It's okay. Half of my stuff still hasn't changed, so I go by both.
You're good. She's Halie Windish King to the scene, everybody. But this is my bestie gal, and we are just going to have some honest conversation, some deeper moments, always funnier moments, some jittery moments because we both had a lot of coffee and no substance yet. And we're just going to hang out and share with you guys. So yeah. I'm so excited you're here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Thanks for coming, girl.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We didn't know that we needed another Halie and Bailey podcast, but last night, 11 p.m. texted me, and it's just going to be everything that was supposed to be. So I'm excited to be here.
Yes, it's going to be so good. And her name rhymes, so it's like What's Bay Say featuring Hay.
Oh.
There you go. So it just all goes together. But we'll go ahead and get right into it. And we are going to do, the setup today is a little different, but I kind of like it. So when we talked, we are going to discuss Halie's testimony and her life up until now. But we're going to break it off into seasons or phases of her life and kind of hit on each topic, I guess. And so go ahead and get started with how we obviously met, which if you watched the first one, which you should watch, go back and watch it. It's so funny. But if you watched that one, we met in 6th grade over a bag of Cheez-Its, and it was good.
Love at first sight.
Yeah, it was. It was a good time. It feels like it was so long ago, but yeah, it feels like a world.
How old are you in 6th grade? Like
11? Are you 11?
Oh my God, 11?
12, 11? No, yeah.
12, 13 years?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, we met and we became instant friends and Facebook messaged all the time, hung out. We're kind of weirdos together, and we grew up together, but we also grew up together and got cuter throughout the years, thank goodness.
Thank God.
But we met, and we've been there for pretty much... We're kind of inseparable, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a codependency thing. I can't, genuinely, I really can't picture not having you in my life just to, talk and hang out and learn from and laugh with and spend time with. And her family means so much to me. And I know she's really close with my parents and my siblings. So
yeah.
We've been friends for a while, homies. And that's kind of how we met. And we're still in the same place, still love each other, still learning about each other. And, yeah, so we're just bestie gals.
Yeah, and that is a huge part, meeting Bailey and just the love her family showed me is a huge part of my testimony, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Don't you worry. But let's just start with your testimony now that they know how we met and how we are where we are today. Starting up with growing up. So as young as you can remember, what was kind of growing up for you like? Family life, home life, what was that like?
Growing up, I have 2 older brothers. Was really young. It was the best ever. We had such a good dynamic. We were at that house on the street that all the kids came to. We had so many friends. We loved, we were just that house, and it's just it feels so good to be that house.
Yeah.
Always have kids in and out, things like that. But church-wise, I would say we went to church and we were semi-involved with VBS and little things like that. But it was never anything that was routine for us, I would say. A lot of times we would sit in the big service with my parents because we were clingy, and we would just color.
I remember you telling me that.
Things like that. We would just bring our coloring books. So I don't think it was anything that was routine for me, set up a relationship with Jesus, but it was definitely present, here or there. So I knew of stories. I knew of a feeling of having a God and like everything he's done for me. So I was familiar, but I wouldn't say it was necessarily like routine or like very present in my life. But yeah, grew up that house on the street. Everyone had great friends. And then my parents kind of started to struggle a little bit, and they ended up getting divorced. So
How old are you?
this was going into fourth grade.
Okay.
So I don't know what age that is, but going into fourth grade, so elementary school, mid-elementary school, my parents ended up splitting up, and it wasn't really like a neat, friendly split up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
As a young kid, like that's obviously super hard, but I feel like it was messy, at least from my point of view. It was definitely hard on me.
Scary, and like your whole world is changing.
Yeah, it was definitely hard on me, and just like obviously something, flips 180, being that house on the street to then my parents splitting up and us moving to a whole new town, not being able to like, going to a place where you don't really have a lot of friends, and you're kind of just like with your brothers and you're like, you want to play Uno?
That's why Haley's so tough and stands her ground, because she grew up with two brothers.
But I feel like it made me grow up a little faster than most, just because it happened at such a young age. And I just had to face things and be on my own for a little bit. So it made me kind of more responsible in a sense, which I feel like feeds into who I am today for sure.
Yes.
And a lot of the things that I love about myself today, like the things that I most love about myself, I would feel like root from that. So there is good things that come from it. And it has made me who I am today. So, and it's my story. So
Yeah.
obviously, so they split up third grade, ended up moving to North Carolina. So my mom was closer to her family, so I moved states. It's very obviously hard for someone to be so little and move.
Yeah.
And just like obviously going from a lot of friends to no friends, new town, new state, things like that. So, do you want me to? Okay.
No, you're good. Whenever you can fast forward, and then moving into like you moved, and then the kind of like turning point of this whole testimony,
You want me to go through all of it?
Yeah.
So then we moved, everything was kind of messy, and that little hope, that little reliance that I did have on God, I was using. So this whole time, I didn't know where to turn. So I was, little 10-year-old girl just praying. That little thing that I did know about God was that I believed in him. For some reason, I did. And
you had hope, something.
Praying that my family would be restored, praying, and not saying that my prayers did it, but he did answer.
Yeah.
And my parents actually ended up getting back together. We ended up moving back home to where I knew. We moved to like the neighboring town.
Mm-hmm.
So came back to my roots where I grew up. Family was back together, and my parents were just so much happier.
Mm-hmm.
We had like a year and a half or so of struggle and, confusion and hardship and lots of fights and everything like that. But them getting back together just opened a whole new side of the relationship, and taught me a lot about what I wanted in relationships, friendship-wise and really like romantic-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, like, through all that, the reason I wanted you to get to that is because that is just really stinking cool. I remember when we met around this time, which Haley's about to hit on, but I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, your parents got divorced and then they got back together. And it wasn't a short amount of time. And even, like, they were dating other people. And
my dad got remarried.
Yeah, I remember.
My dad got remarried and then ended up leaving her for my mom. And they restored the relationship, and as I said, it's never been better, and we moved back home and just haven't looked back, honestly.
Yeah, and that's so cool. And I think it, like you said, you learn a lot of do's and you learn a lot of don'ts, but that's just the power of prayer and the power of restoration, and the power of God, honestly, is shown through your parents. And not every couple that gets divorced is going to necessarily end up back together. Restoration looks different for everyone. So restoration could look like, okay, now we're with new people who are actually better for us. Or in your case, it could be that they ended up back together and now they're more healthy, they're more whole, they communicate better, all that stuff. And I think that which this is so cool that you said that, but really any tragedy or crisis or big conflict in your life, that kind of stuff really brings out your character negatively and positively, and it really helps. It's those molding moments. So if you are in the middle of tragedy or conflict or a huge kind of 180 in your life, I will say, as dark as those places can get and as confusing and as harsh as they can get, I promise you, in the dark, that's where you're getting molded into the person that you're going to be, and you'll be stronger because of it.
Yeah.
So a little bit of hope for you listeners. And if your parents are going through a divorce, maybe that's someone on here. Know that there is hope and that you can pray for restoration and ask God that he would restore it in whatever means necessary. But I think that's so cool. That's just a cool story. That's why I wanted you to say it, because I just think it's awesome.
Yeah.
But and then the next thing, kind of like I said, we met in the middle of this. So we're going to hit on friendship now. This is the next little subcategory. So friendship-wise, from your perspective, what did this all look like?
So particular to mine and Bailey's relationship, we moved back home from North Carolina. We, back in one house as a whole family. And I started back at the middle school that I was lined up to go to before I moved. Mm-hmm. So I saw a lot of new people, saw a lot of people that I left in elementary school. But I still didn't, there was a 2-year disconnect. So it wasn't like just jumping right back in with my same old friends.
Yeah.
So that is actually when I met you, was in middle school, the beginning of 6th grade. So just jumped right in. I was like, you know what? Been through everything. I'm just going to shoot my shot with whoever,
Yeah.
And
I went to private school and then moved. So I kind of was in a similar boat of everyone already had their friends.
Yeah.
From elementary school that they had gone through all of it with. And so in my boat, I was like, I had friends, but I still felt the same of, they already have their group or whatever.
Yeah. So I just was kind of probably the most outgoing I've ever been in my life, even still. Just, I don't know, something about you. Bailey.
Oh my gosh.
No, but just the
Making me
energy, and just persona you put off, even in 6th grade, was just such a light. And so just offered her some Cheez-Its, and it was love at first sight.
It is so weird that people
so funny.
think that, though, but when we tell them, they say, how are you guys so close, or how have you been so close? And I literally don't remember a time where I wasn't close to you. I don't remember a time where I couldn't call Halie and good or bad and call you about stuff. But we became good friends, and I didn't know. So in middle school, obviously, when you become friends, you kind of just hang out. There's no depth to normal middle school friendships, 6th grade especially. And Halie and I really just let each other into our lives. I think it was a safeness that both of us felt.
Yeah.
Where it was God ordained, obviously, and I'm so thankful that God brought us to each other and we have the friendship we have. But I really just felt safe to open up with her, and she felt safe to open up with me about things that were going on. And so we got to be kind of each other's confidant, okay, when I'm going through something, this is who I'm going to talk to, even on Facebook Messenger or whatever.
Just silly conversations.
Yeah.
But meeting Bailey at that time is a huge part of my testimony, as I said in the beginning, just from going, obviously, from my past of divorce and getting back together and relying on the little hope that I did have. I wouldn't really say I had a relationship with God, but I had a belief in God. And I obviously prayed for my family to be back together, but I didn't even know what I was praying for,
Yeah.
And God moved and it happened. And then I got blessed with a friendship that still today is my number one relationship. So it's sorry, Kyle. But I think meeting Bailey at that time specifically was such a God moment for sure. And I'm not going to speak on your behalf, but I think it was just, we needed each other and we found each other. So it was just beautiful.
No, and it was so cool. This is just to tell you guys the power of friendships and the power of relationships and stewarding relationships in your life. But when I met Halie, I didn't know her relationship with God. She didn't know mine. We didn't even know each other. We're Christians at all. But then we found out we were. And it was really cool because Halie says that I influenced her positively to pursue God. And I invited her to summer camp with me. And we went to kids camp together. And we went to youth together. And
it kind of opened up new doors in my relationship with God that I didn't even know were there because they weren't presented to me when I was little. So being close to you just opened those alleyways that I didn't even know were there. And so being with you and obviously tagging along because we were inseparable.
Yeah.
We went to these things and it just was like history from there. So
Yeah, but it was so cool. I was telling Halie, the cool thing about it is she was learning about God through me, but I was learning about how to communicate the gospel through our friendship, because Halie would ask me about certain things. We would leave church and she'd be like, so what's purity? And I'd say, oh, you don't know about purity? And then I would get to tell her. Or she'd say, why do we go to church? Like, I get it and it makes me feel good, but why do we do this? Or why does your family pray before dinner, or whatever? And so it opened this door of like, the Lord knew what he was doing, because he was using me to strengthen Haley's relationship with God, but like she was also helping me strengthen my relationship, because knowing what you believe and why you believe it and getting asked that is kind of, oh, why do I believe this? And you have to think and you have to do some soul searching. And so it strengthened both of us. And just to hit on something, that's just the power of an invite. Literally, it took 2 seconds for me to say, I like Halie. She's cool. Halie, come to church with me. Went to church together, and then her relationship with God was birthed out of a couple invites to church and just feeling the presence of God. And so for anyone who's saved, if you know someone or don't know someone, you can be that for someone. You can literally, now we're constantly inviting our friends to church and inviting them to young adults events and trying to do stuff, because it's a big deal. It seems insignificant, but a couple moments in God's presence change people's lives. I promise you. Maybe not the first time, maybe not even the second time, but if they consistently, if you just say, come with me, it's going to be fun. You could say there's free food. You could say whatever you have to do to get people in the building.
Yeah.
But we are here to spread a light, but just the power of an invite. It literally, we were talking about how it seems so simple, but real.
And people, I feel like, push it off like, that's not going to work. Like, just getting them there isn't going to work. And that's so not true. That getting them there is everything. That's all you have to do is to get them there.
Even if they don't listen, they're still being... They don't even know, but their small things are being deposited.
Yeah.
And so kind of we're going to talk about friendship for a second and healthy friendships. And not that our friendship is perfect, but we really have never had any big problems. We've never really argue or anything. We kind of just know how each other work. We also know, though, when someone's mad or something's because we know each other and we've taken time to get deep and have depth to our friendship. We protect each other's feelings and protect each other's hearts. But kind of talks about, a lot of people talk about building a relational foundation, talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. And that is very important, and it is an essential to a relationship. But what we were talking about is it's important to build friendship solid foundations. And
For sure.
The reason I can absolutely say this to any person, no matter how old you are, me and Halie have been friends for 12, 13 years and never had any type of arguments that are big, and never, been on bad terms with each other, never talked bad about each other or anything. And the reason that we have such a healthy friendship is absolutely because of God. It is because God ordained for us to be friends, one, but then it's because we've always talked about God.
We keep him, like, in this.
Yes.
And, like, I feel like what you were saying before, like, people talk about having, like, specifically God in their romantic relationship being so important. And I think, like you said, it goes with relationships, too. Friendly relationships, too. Having God being able to be a topic of, like, free speech and,
just like, normal discussion. Like, hey, how's your quiet time? Or, hey, what's a good sermon you've watched? Or talking about, there's an emotional connection and like a spiritual connection that happens when you leave church and you can actually talk about what you guys got out of it. And it opens the door for God to bless your friendship and to honor it. And when you're praying for that person and you're really valuing them and you are thanking God for them, I promise you, your friendships, like, they might go through a little bit of struggle, but they will not fall off if God is the foundation of that. And so if you want to know, number one key to being friends for a long time and having lifelong friends, build your foundation on God, talking about God and discovering God together and having your own individual relationship with God, but also incorporating God just into, like you said, free speech. We were in the car and I was like, we need to give everybody practicality. So practical 4 C's of friendship from What's Bay Say featuring Hay. I say, we've talked about this in the car, is the number one thing is communication. Communication in any relationship is key, with your boss, with your friends, with your husband, with your boyfriend, with your family. Communication, letting people know how you feel, letting them know what's bothering you,
And just like what we were talking about at a small group the other week, just like knowing how the other person communicates or receives communication as well is very important. So like not only you being able to be in a space to where you can vent, and you can communicate what's on your mind, but when someone else is communicating, receiving that correctly and responding correctly is a huge thing. So it's more than just speaking.
Yeah, it's even, like Halie said, if someone's, kind of being a little sassy or something, there's some of our friends where we could say like, hey, don't act like that, that's rude, and we would get firm with them. But then there's some of our friends where we would know you have to go at a little bit, you have to go at a little bit more softly and calmly. So communication and just being there for each other, and even communication as small as if you're not going to something or you guys plan on going to something and you're going to be late, that matters. And
to me a lot.
Yeah, to Halie a lot, especially if you change plans. So the 4 C's of friendship is communication, number 1. Just communicate with each other. Communicate high moments, low moments, and then also know how the other person communicates. And ask them. It's okay to say, how do you feel loved in a friendship? Or how can I be a better friend to you? That is a good question to ask your friends.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is commitment. It sounds as if I'm talking about boyfriend and girlfriend. But all these things are significant in the area of friendship too. You have to be, I'm committed to Halie. I'm committed to whatever it is that Halie's excited about. I love her and I care about her, so I'm excited about it. And I am committed to making sure that Halie is exactly who God wants her to be. So when she's in a low moment, it's my job, because I'm committed to her and I'm committed to the calling on her life and I am supportive of her. It's my job to call her higher and say like, hey, I know you're in a low moment, but God has a calling on your life and God's going to use you. And I know literally yesterday, she was anxious about something. And in that moment, I could have said, oh yeah, Halie's a little anxious. That sucks, whatever. But instead I was like, you know what, Halie, no, like I love you. You need to speak the word of God over your life. And I sent her some verses to pray about and to be there for her. And I literally changed my whole schedule to.
Yeah, not even sending me stuff. She talked to her boss and was like getting off work to come be by my side as I was getting just some results. And so that's commitment right there.
Commitment, yeah. And like whenever Halie's literally married and I was having like a hard night and she was like, you want to come and sleep with me and Kyle can sleep in the guest room for tonight? Like that's like commitment. And that can't happen all the time because obviously they're married. But like the level of commitment, and even like Kyle, her husband, I have such a good friendship with Halie, and Kyle knows how much me and Halie care about each other. And now like Kyle is protective and supportive of me, and like them as a couple are someone that I know I can go to. And Kyle's like, you're being an idiot. And
in the best way possible.
Yes.
He's not there on the communication part yet.
Yeah, but he's committed. So, and we're committed to whatever. Halie could literally be like, I just did the smallest thing and I'd be so excited because I'm committed to what she's committed to. The next thing is care, and you can talk a little bit about that because you're good at caring for people.
We just said care just because there does have to be a level of emotional attachment, not in a romantic way, obviously, but just like you have to care for that person, that your friends, like if you don't care for your friends, then you're not going to be committed to them. You're not going to have good communication. Yeah. So I think it roots from caring for someone, getting to know them and just enjoying who they are, and just wanting the best for them, caring for their life, even if it's not something that you're a part of. Like realms of your life that I'm not a part of, I still care about those. And that makes me committed. That makes me communicate well with you because I care so much about our relationship. And I know that there's good fruit from it. So I'm going to care for it as something like caring for a baby or caring for my iced coffee in the morning, Yeah. You take care of the things that you
value.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think another aspect of that we talked about is when you care for someone and you value what they value, that communicates love to me. So knowing Halie really values my family, that she loves my parents, and that she would, if my mom needed Halie and Kyle to do something or whatever, that they would do it because they care about her. And if your mom ever called me at any point, I would answer and I would help her because I care about your mom. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense, but you seeing how much I care about your family and even your dogs makes her happy, and it shows her, oh my gosh, this is not just like fun, and it is fun, and it is, the next point is about funness. That's not a word.
But I also think it's just like, it's not like, I know we've both had friends where it's like, the effort just comes from me. And it's like, they're not really caring about you because the effort and transaction is one way. You know what I'm saying? So you have to care for that person and be in their life, like reaching out, valuing the things that they value, because if it's only like a transactional relationship, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And if it's only one-sided, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and that does not feel good. And caring for someone is caring even when they're not there. So this is really good for younger people. If someone is your best friend and someone's creating a space for them to be talked poorly about or to be ridiculed or to be gossiped about, it's your job as that person to care about them even when they're not there and say, hey, we're not going to talk about them.
Yeah.
Like, that's my girl.
Yeah.
We're not going to, people should know that it's not a safe, no one would ever come gossip about Halie to me because they know I'd be like, first of all,
Square up. What'd you say?
What'd you say about my girl? But they also know that I'm not a safe place to talk about Halie because as soon as they're done, or the opposite, I'm going to be like, yeah, what'd she do? And then I'm going to be like, Halie, this girl just said. And it's going to get back to her. But that's the kind of level, like all of our friends, Kat, Marissa, Taylor, like Valentina, no one's going to come and talk bad about them to me because they know I'm either going to square up or I'm going to be like, yeah, tell me. And then I'm going to go tell you guys what happened. So that's the level of care that they should feel uncomfortable to talk about your friends.
Right.
Because you care about them so much that it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, which is so important, is just not to be neglected, everybody.
No.
Cutting up. The C is cutting up. It's a two-word one. But you have to cut up with your friends. I mean, yes, these things are all important, and they're more like deep and heavy, and friendships seem like so much work, and friendships are work, but they are also the most rewarding things that you will have in your life. You come into this earth like for an allotted amount of time, and what you do with your time here is solely up to you. So the interactions that you have, the conversations that you have, the decisions that you make, that's on you, and hopefully you're making them with God and He's involved in it. But like the people that you care about and the people that you invest in, you're gonna leave the earth saying, okay, I really did a lot with my life, and I had these fun memories, and I did all this stuff, and I did what I wanted to do. Or you're going to look back and say, dang, I really wish I would have ventured out more, or I wish that person was really kind. I wish I would have got to know them more. So don't waste your time when it comes to your friends, even if you guys are sitting at home. The other night, perfect example, we were just sitting at Halie's house. The boys were literally sitting at the table talking, and we blasted music. And we had a dance party like we were just 12 years old.
Literally.
And just we're being idiots and like dancing around. I was like crying, laughing at Taylor.
We love you, Taylor.
We love Taylor. And we literally just danced around, and that's a core memory. Like that's a memory that I'll look back on and be so excited.
And moments like those, it sucks to say, but like are less than nowadays just because we're getting older
and busier.
So it just made it that much more like needed, and so we were just that much more ridiculous
and embarrass yourself sometimes. Literally, it's a safe. The boys were looking at us
like what
disappointed in us. But we
didn't
care.
Where did you learn to do that? That's terrible.
Cat Daddy was like but anyways, those kind of moments, they matter, and that I look forward to seeing my friends because I know we're going to laugh and I know we're going to have fun, and no matter what we're doing. And so the 4 C's, communication, communicate with your friends, check on them, tell them you love them. Even just a simple text message of, I love you, have a good day. That will help your friend go throughout the day and do what they need to do. Commitment, stay committed to them and be committed to their well-being and being there. And when they're in a low spot especially, it's hard when your friend is doing something that you're not okay with, or in a friendship or in a relationship that's hurting them, and you have to watch them, and you're like, dude, if you could just see from my perspective, I know Haley's felt that way with me sometimes, but she's still in that moment, she would obviously correct me and be like, hey, I don't think this is wise, but I support you. And that's one thing I really value about you, is that Halie, I would completely do the opposite of what she said sometimes, and then she'd be like, yeah, you did the complete opposite, but I still love you, and I'm still going to be there for you. And if this doesn't, I hope it works out for you. And if it doesn't, you still have me. And that meant so much to me. And I know in anything we do, we're like, if it tanks, I'm still with you. I still got you. And then care about what they care about, and just care for them and care for the people that they care about. That matters. And then the last thing, cut up.
All day.
Watch funny YouTube. Watch New Girl together. Friendship advice 101. Watch New Girl. And laugh together. So that's kind of like the friendship aspect. And then the next thing I want to talk about, which I love to talk about, is love. And you and Kyle, and you guys are obviously married now. Sorry, boys who are watching this. She got a ring on her finger.
Almost 2 years. Can you believe that? We were talking the other night, and I was like,
whoa.
Our 2-year anniversary is this July.
That is crazy.
Since our wedding day. That sounds crazy.
Everyone who was at the wedding is looking around. Like, where did time go?
2 years. That's insane. But yeah.
Tell us your love story. It's a funny one. You got to start from the beginning too. Yes.
Okay.
Have to.
So yeah, after meeting Bailey in 6th grade, my first relationship bloomed and was just so good. I didn't expect my next one to blossom and be so good from the start, but it was.
She has good luck, guys.
I really do. But, had Bailey till it's just me and her till probably like 8th grade, 2 years strong.
We were just playing the field, just chilling.
Just chilling. And then going into high school, I had a crush on my brother's best friend.
Which I was like, really? This one? I'm just kidding.
And he was a grade older than me. I mean, most of y'all probably know Kyle. But I was just like, yo, I think I'm going to marry this guy. Like, literally, I had that thought when I was 13, 14 years old. Just daydreaming about him, like, literally starstruck. Like,
Halie King in her notebook. Not even,
like stupid, funny. Embarrassing, like, all of that. That was me. But, I mean, I'll own it now. So texting him, maybe even get a response, maybe not, sending him, the Pitch Perfect song with the cup. Yeah, sent him that. Just like stupid.
That would get him, right, boys?
It's skill right there. So I pulled out all my stops chasing after this guy. And I mean, I got his attention.
She did.
First freshman homecoming, he asked me to the dance, which was actually set up by my brother. So thank you, Dylan.
So sweet.
You would think me dating his best friend would be weird or like something that he'd be like, ew, no, like, what are you doing, you freak? And he actually like employed it and like was behind
Instigated
it.
it for sure.
I thank him for that. So asked me to homecoming dance my freshman year and went to every dance with him. We went through high school together. I feel like our high school relationship was much more elementary. I mean, as you would expect.
Yeah.
Especially the first 2 years, just like the off and on type of like I'm bored, like maybe not, just back and forth. But I feel like we both knew, even from like a young age, before we started dating, I was like, I see a future with him. Like, I want him to be my baby daddy type of thing.
Which we're praying for.
No.
Yes, start praying.
But even just like back then, but we always had something instilled in us that something was serious.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it wasn't until like the end of my junior year, his senior year, that we started to actually instill serious things into our relationship, like Christ. And we always, we were involved in things during high school, but it was never like a foundation of ours. But once we were getting more serious, we were getting older, we were about to go to college, things like that, we started to adjust our relationship to be strong enough to take on those things.
I have a couple of questions I can ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to know, well, one, I also want to say they were not on and off. They broke up once, and it was for like 2 days. And Halie was crying in my hands and was like, that's the worst decision of my life. And then they got back together literally 2 days later.
That's true.
They were not on and off. They were just more chill and not as deep, I guess, as you were, which is rightfully so. But I was there through it all. I just want everyone to know. The texting, the cup song. I probably recorded the cup song. The first kiss, the dances, everything. And I'm still, when Kyle's doing stuff, he's like, Haley's mad. Do you think she'll like this or whatever?
She really is like our middleman. I'm like, talk to Bailey. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw Kyle today and the chord thing was out and I go, and he goes, yeah, I already got cut for it. I said, should have hit it better. Boys, but I have been there through it all, so it's been so cool because to see like where they started and where they are. But what did you liked him so much at first, but what did you kind of see in qualities in him that you thought, okay, maybe this is someone I could be with?
Yeah, so obviously we had like the fantasy of marrying him, but we had no structure. I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
So once we started dating, things that actually stood out to me, the one time we did break up, I remember, this is so silly, I checked out of school because I was distraught because we passed
Rightfully
each other in the hallway and he didn't look at me. And I was like, I broke his heart because I broke up with him.
Yeah, she did.
And then I felt sad. So I literally checked myself out of school, went home, and 30 minutes later, middle of the school day, he brings me an ice cream. So he checked out and brought me a McFlurry. So
And that is real love.
it's
boys.
real love. But how silly that example is, that is one example, but the way he fights for me is like probably my number one.
Mm-hmm.
Through any obstacle, even from then, and it's been 9 years now that we've been together.
Mm-hmm.
He fights me really well.
Yeah.
And he makes me feel like the only one that he has his attention on, and he makes me feel worthy and valued enough to be fought for. So I think that was a huge thing for me, especially coming from my past of experiencing a divorced family and then seeing them back together.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be in a relationship that would
Hurt you, yeah.
fall or separate or things like that. So having someone that fought for me really well was important for me. And he made me feel valued and worthy and sought after. And those were all things, especially as a young girl, that's what you're seeking for.
Yeah.
Someone who like points out the good in you and doesn't like kick you in your weaknesses or make you insecure, make you feel as though like
Confused,
you're an option.
Yeah, you never felt, neither of you, I
never felt
confused or
I
like,
never
is this
felt-
how he feels about me? Is this not?
I was never an option. I was just the one. That's how he made me feel. And then obviously like his humor. I feel like if you know Kyle, he's the funny guy.
Yes.
Love that. He's 6'3".
It's a bonus.
He is very handsome. I mean, I could name
Whole package.
the whole
There you go.
package.
And he feels the same about her, which is cool because he never felt, neither of you being your middleman sometimes, I saw that nothing that they've ever, which I want Halie to hit on this, but they've never argued they don't really argue in general, but you never argued about where do you stand or do you care about me or how much he cares about you. You always know, you can just get annoyed with him, but you never change your position on, okay, this is my person. And I was talking to Halie and I was telling her, how do you think that security in each other was birthed? Because there's so many couples that they literally can't have the boy can't have girlfriends, even in group settings. I'm not saying girl best friends because that is kind of weird if you're married. No offense to anybody. But just like I told them at parties, if we go to a friend's birthday party or whatever, Halie can go and talk to a group of our guy friends and Kyle isn't even concerned whatsoever. Nothing would ever cross his mind. No type of insecurity, no type of feeling, no type of jealousy because they just know. And that's so rare for people to be so confident in the other person. Yeah. Even when she's not there. I mean, there was a time that Kyle went to a birthday with us, like just you were working or out of town or something. And he went out to eat with us and we went and hung out and met up with people and she was like, love you, have fun, just whatever. And I just think that's really cool. And I aspire to have that confidence in somebody in that no matter who's in the room. I literally think that Zac Efron or whoever could be in the room and Kyle would not care if you talked to him because he'd be like, dude, I'm Kyle, that's my girl, and whatever. So how did that how do you guys manage that, I guess?
I feel like going from the start, like that was something, like obviously I said him fighting for me and just making me feel worthy and valued from the start is a huge reason why we are like that today. Because trust isn't even a discussion that we have because we don't need to talk about it because we trust each other that much. We both feel so secure with our relationship in each other that it honestly doesn't ever cross my mind to even like worry about things. And I feel like he has made me so confident in myself. I feel like that's a huge thing too. So I'm not only confident in him and his actions, but he has made me confident in who I am. So not to say that like, oh, he can talk to her because like she ain't got nothing on me, but like that's not my mindset. But I'm saying he has made me feel so confident in who I am as a person, my personality, my physical, like everything. Like he adores me and he makes that known to me. So it just makes me, in those moments where we're in public, it just makes me, not even have to worry at all.
And I know that to you guys, that's just your normal, but I'm sure you can see through other friendships and relationships that is such a gift, and that is the goal for everyone. And so hearing, both of you, a big way, guys, for you and girls is to affirm that person and who they are and how much they mean to you how worthy they are of good things. And then I think a big aspect, this is a little bit on the more personal side, but a big aspect, and it's not a secret, it's an amazing thing of this and why you guys are so secure in your relationship and why you do have such a healthy relationship is because of purity, and you guys fought for your purity, and you can speak on that as much as you would like to share.
I would say, we dated for
7 years?
6 or 7 years, depending on like the month, before we got married. So 6 years, 7 years together from 14, 15 age on till we were like 21. So if you hadn't aged where you were going to experiment, we went through it. But it was something, for me personally, I brought up on the first date. I knew from seeing my parents go through things, from the little relationship that I did have with God, that it was from God. I just clung to the idea of purity so much, and I felt like it was just like placed on my life.
It just wasn't an option. You were going to do it.
I was like, this is what God says, and I want my relationship to be strong because I've seen a relationship falter. So I'm going to do what I know, and this is what I know, and it's from God. It's good, and it's going to be hard, but I want my relationship to flourish, and I want my relationship to be the best. So if this is what I have to do to make my relationship stronger in the future, then that's what we're going to do. So I made it clear on day one.
She's like, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you.
As much as I saw him as my husband before we dated, when we started dating, I put those things first. So I told him who I was, and this is what I believe, and this is, if they're trying to get some, this isn't the place to come. And he was very receptive of it, and he honored me in that way, and he agreed with me in that way, and I think it took him some time maybe to get on board fully, and there were definitely moments, it's hard. Yeah. I'm not going to negate that it's not hard, but it's putting those things, like
those boundaries.
Life isn't about operating off your feelings, so it's operating off of what you believe. It's operating off the things you know in your mind.
And your future, like what you want for your future marriage and for your future self.
It meant that much to me, and so it meant that much to him. So we did it. We stuck through it, and I think our relationship today is 100% an example of sticking through it, and it has made us obviously physically way more connected to each other now that we're in marriage, but also emotionally. Just like being able to take time to experience your relationship at different stages. Don't rush through things. Don't meet someone and go on a date and experience everything right there. Why would you do that? That's such a, take time in life to experience different phases of a person. And so getting to grow with him slowly, and then getting to marriage and getting to then grow with him again is just like such a beautiful thing that
it showed that Halie and Kyle fought significantly less than every other couple that was experimenting and, having those elements into their relationship, and how much Halie now, even then, they saved themselves for each other.
And I also think, now that I'm speaking upon it, I think that is a huge reason why we don't really have an issue with trust, is because we were never powered by that. We were never
you had
focused
control of
on
yourself,
the sexuality of things. So going through all that and him, meeting me there and us being committed to that, it never made me question, us now.
Yeah. That's awesome. And obviously, if you guys don't know, I am saving myself for marriage, and it's so weird because at first I feel like when I was 16, 17, everyone was saving themselves for marriage. And this is no shade. It's just funny now, because now whenever I tell people, I'm like, oh yeah, I am a virgin. They're like, what?
Yeah.
How are you? And I'm 23. And then people are like, oh, are you weird? Have you had your first kiss?
Are you weird?
Yeah, no, I have. And I definitely haven't been perfect at all. But it's like, Halie, it mattered so much to me. And this is just advice to young people, guy or girl. You can do it.
Yeah.
It is hard, and when you care about someone, it's hard, but the whole, if you really cared about someone, it's you would do it and you would have sex. In my mind, if you care about someone, you won't, because you want to bless your marriage and you want to experience that within marriage, because that's where it was designed to be.
Yeah.
So if you are having sex, you're not a bad person. It's a personal conviction. That was a conviction I had, and Kyle didn't have it, but then he cared so much about Halie that he respected it and never pushed it and never made her feel less than, and that's a good thing. So
and looking back now, like I told you earlier today, looking back now 2 years in, just the other day he looked at me and he was like, we were just watching TV and he was like, I'm like, you were so worth the wait. Like, I'm so glad we waited, just like randomly.
Yeah.
And so it's just like might not have had that conviction at first, but he obviously committed and cared for me in that way that we did save ourselves. And then now 2 years into marriage, it changes it. It makes it just so much more strong, and the emotional aspect of it, not just the physical.
Yeah. So maybe like if one person has it in a relationship right now, that conviction of I do want to wait, or maybe we're having sex and we should wait. If you have that and the other person's not there, then one, they should respect and honor what you care about. So have that conversation. They might be more open to it than you think, or they might not be totally on board at first, and then they might understand, oh wow, this is actually really good for us, and it is something to look forward to. And so, like we said, that's a personal thing that God put in our hearts, and the Bible talks about it, and you can research purity and whatever. But I just think that that's really cool, because you always hear about people who maybe didn't wait and then how it affected them, but you never hear about someone, okay, you did wait and you saw the benefits of it. And so you guys are awesome, and I salute you for that. And I salute me, because
yes,
you're going on the kind of different path, I guess, than
especially
everyone.
in today's world, being 23.
And not weird. Not weird. But yeah, that's just, purity is important, and not just with your body, but like in your heart and in your mind, and thinking, like Halie said, not being so captivated by physical and all the lustful things, really getting to know someone for who they are without any benefits physically is a huge game changer in your relationship.
For sure.
And then kind of like the last little thing I want to hit on is where you're at now, and your marriage and like how it is, and then how you guys stay so healthy. And even like, I remember one time, you might not even remember talking to me about this, but you said that you guys don't name call. Like, she was like, no matter what, no matter how mad I get at him, I might say you're acting like a jerk, but I never say you're a jerk. Yeah, you just reword it, or you don't say it at all. But I think that's such a practical thing, and has saved you guys so many, because when someone you care about calls you something, it sticks, good or bad.
For sure. So yeah, I think we've learned a lot about fighting. I know you said earlier, like, I never see them fight, but we do fight, and we do argue, but I feel like there's strength in arguing with someone. If you're not arguing with someone, not like in a toxic way, but it strengthens communication, and it strengthens skills and teaches you how to communicate with the other person. So just like a friendship, you need to know how to communicate with your partner. So through arguing, you're going to learn how they receive things, and stuff like that. So I think communication is number one, just the hardest thing. And I think it was hard for us at first communicating, and because if you are mad, you're hot. You're like, I'm pissed off, like, you freaking jerk. But we committed to the very start of our marriage, we're not going to call each other names. So doesn't matter how much you think you're right, doesn't matter how heated you are, I'm not going to call you something, because like you said, it does stick, and this is a for life thing. So you don't want to go on knowing like, oh, well, he thinks of me as that word that he called me. So we don't name call. A lot of time when we fight, we have learned to take a step back, because we both can get very heated, and we both are very strong, like stubborn people. I feel like he's a little more stubborn than I am, but we've learned that just talking in the moment doesn't help at all. So we say a lot of things that you don't mean, and there is more room for name calling. So a lot of times we will say our disagreement and take a second, because you're not going to get fruit from just screaming at each other. And then also, no matter what, we end the conversation with I love you. Because whatever your disagreement is, big, small, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, like, I love you and you're my person, and we're going to work through it. So doesn't matter. I could be literally livid, and I'm like, I love you.
He's like,
Give it out my
and then he's like, what? And I love you.
I'm leaving, but I love you. But yeah,
I'm going to Bailey's, but I love you.
Yeah. But I think what has led us to having a good marriage is just communication skills, obviously, and that comes with time and learning each other. And then also I think friendships is a huge part of our marriage. I think both of us having good friends around us, having an outlet that's not each other is so good. Being able to get out and not be with him. Yeah, having a small group, just having girls around me that I can get out and do stuff without him. Just makes the time with him so much better. And just getting to like relate to people and say things in a different way just has really been awesome the last 2 years. So I think, we're good. We don't want any kids. No, we have 2 fur babies. So
they got 2 puppies. So now fast forward, cause we're on our last little segue of the podcast, but now you're married for 2 years. They got 2 cute pups, Axel and Ahsoka. Cute little babies, and they've had to learn. You're gonna be good parents because Ahsoka was a lot when she was a puppy.
She's a terrible puppy, honestly.
But she's cute, so it's okay. And Halie is, if you know Halie King, you have HK Fit. You have to it's just a part of it. She is fitness guru. She is the queen. She has the best body you'll probably ever see in your life. And so whoever is listening, contact her. Get this girl on the cover of whatever because she has worked so hard and you found your passion. So kind of talk about that in our last little moments together about what it is that got you into fitness and how you're incorporating your passion into your life. Because a lot of people find their passion and they know what like fills them up and what really they're excited about and they love to do, but they don't know how to get it in, you know what I mean, in their routine, I guess, of life.
I feel like I found fitness when I was in college. I moved to college. I was in a dorm with a random person that I didn't know. I started spring semester. So I started when everyone else already had their friend groups at a big university. I go to UGA. So thrown into a town that Kyle wasn't at. Kyle was in Atlanta. And all my friends weren't there. So I was by myself in a dorm room with someone I didn't know, and I was lonely. And I think for the first time, I was, like, truly lonely, like, in my adult life. And so I found the gym, and the gym was, like, an outlet for me that mentally helped me more than physically, but I got addicted to it because I, like, had so much time on my hands because I felt like I was alone. So the gym was just a safe space for me that I just fell in love with during that time, and I just ran with it. And obviously physically that has come to been an output of going to the gym. Obviously my physical body changed, but just like mentally and emotionally, even spiritually, like at the gym I just feel my best. And it's just become such a part of my life. And at that time I also was praying for a passion because I was in college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it kind of fell in my lap exactly when I needed it to. And
it's okay to pray for passions. It's okay to pray and say, God, I don't know what I'm good at. I don't know what I want to do. And God will.
I didn't.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to waste my time. I didn't want to waste my money at a big university. So I was just praying. And, you know, my degree's not in fitness. My degree's in advertising. But I started, you know, I was like, Kyle honestly taught me a lot. He encouraged me in my walk with fitness and my passion, and he's always been behind me, and he usually takes a lot of my videos. So I started my Instagram. He encouraged me through that whole thing and still does today. And then it was just something that we could do together because like Kyle's also like a gym junkie. So it turned into like something we did just together, you know. We go to the gym, go get lunch.
Which is great that you guys like the same thing. So, because if my husband's a gym I'd be like, go babe.
So it worked out.
You're doing great.
Yes. So he supported me in that. And then, I mean, even still today, we do that. We go on gym dates and then go eat. And that works for us. But then just, you know, furthered a step more. And I was like, I kind of want to start training people. So I got certified in personal training, and now I offer online training and in-person training, and I sell programs online. So about to graduate. And
you really just had to do it. Like me with the podcast, it was something that I was praying about what to do, and God put it on my heart. And then I thought, okay, is this from God? Is this something that I could realistically do? Do I have the time? Do I have the energy? Because sometimes you'll get a really great dream or idea, and it's just not the right time yet to kind of launch it, I guess. But then when I felt, okay, I have enough time on my hands where I could do this, and I have enough capacity where I could do this, and then you really just send it, which I can't find a scripture that says send it, but if God could say send it, sometimes I think he's just like,
I also think that I would always struggle with like what my calling is from God, and so or like my gift, like my spiritual gift. And I truly think it's encouraging. I think my like encouragement is my gift.
Yeah.
And so I have tied that into fitness. Like I want to encourage people that don't have the knowledge that I have or don't know how to get to the place that they want to be, and encourage them through that season. Yeah. So I think it has really fulfilled me in a lot of ways with my walk with Jesus, just because it gives me an outlet to encourage people. Yeah. Whether we talk about Jesus at all, but just to be someone that believes in someone else and pushes them to be greater. And
it's cool because so my passion is people, which sounds silly, but I just like people. I like meeting people. I enjoy talking to people. Everywhere we go, Halie thinks I'm weird because I'll just randomly...
Because it's security issue, like safety.
I'll randomly be like, hey, what's your name? And just talk to a random person. But I enjoy getting to know people's stories. And really, I'm passionate about humans. Like, I don't know. And so that's what I like to do. But then I am gifted in communicating. And I didn't really know that. And so it's cool because God will make them line up where now I love people. I love communicating. And I get to do that through preaching and podcasts and sharing and all this stuff. And so they kind of coincide together because God's so cool and he cares about the details like that. But so now she's thriving in her fitness stuff and in her marriage and in her friendship. And obviously we have higher moments and lower moments, but I think that it is true. You are an encourager and you encourage me. And Halie, I'm not a gym junkie, but I am healthier because of Halie, and I care about artificial stuff because of Halie. And so taking care of your body is important, and you're great at what you do, and go look into it, HK Fit. But that's awesome. And then the last question is, which I love, advice to 16-year-old Halie. What would you tell her? It's kind of like you're telling 16-year-old Bailey because we'd be together. So what would you tell us at 16?
16... I feel like I would just say, don't sweat the little things. I feel like I got caught up a lot in figuring out every little step that was before me, and it makes you miss out on the present. And at 16, really at 18, you're moving to college, but I feel like during that time, those building years, I definitely was seeking so much to the future and worrying, stressing, planning, and I did freak out about the little things. And everything ended up working out exactly how it's supposed to be. And I wish I wouldn't have stressed so much and planned so much. I wish I would have just enjoyed more.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then some small last minute details. Obviously, Halie and I being so close and being there for each other, we've been there for each other's lowest moments and highest moments, and we'll continue being there for the rest of our lives. But some really practical friendship things that I want to hit on as we close out is, like I said, Halie and I have never had a big falling out, but we have had times where we weren't communicating as well, or we weren't doing stuff as well. And I will say a big part of friendship is dropping your pride sometimes and saying, okay, Halie, I should have been there, or okay, I'm so sorry that I didn't reach out, or I was really busy, or sometimes it honestly looks like I just had anxiety last week and I didn't talk to anyone, and it wasn't you. And dropping your pride in your friendship. And also, people can't speak in and help you in what you're not speaking out about. So I as much as I love Halie, I can't see through her, and I don't know what's going on in her family and in her the most inner parts of her. So speak out to people that you care about so that they can speak into it, and they might give you exactly what you need to sustain you and get you through the day. So don't think anyone's perfect, number one. And then two, speak out and know that your friends care about you, and the right people can help you in the right time if you give them that opportunity. And also, literally, on what Halie just said, the last thing, make the most of every day. Seriously, your life, yes, you can plan for the future. Yes, you should think about the future and be excited for it and be expectant for it and be somewhat prepared for it. But don't be so caught up in the future that you're missing what, life has for you today, because it could be the best day of your life. You never know. So that's so good. But I love you, Halie. Thanks so much for coming. I love just talking and hearing from you and learning from you. And I'm inspired by you, so thanks for coming on. But everyone else, thanks for listening. I love you guys so much, and I hope that you share this with a friend because there's a lot of wisdom in it, and Halie is incredible, so continue to learn from her. And thanks for listening, but I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Make sure you're following Instagram at What's Bay Say. It's on Spotify. We're on YouTube, everywhere, all that good stuff. But hope you have a phenomenal rest of your week. And remember, if there is no good and you can't find any good, to become the good. So love you guys. Peace out.
Goodbye.